Hi, my name is Katie. I am, as some would say, a recovering food addict. But now, thanks to a large body of research, I now know that I was not addicted to food any more than I have been addicted to air my entire life. I think most of us are. What I am really recovering from is a lifetime of fat phobia and diet culture dictating how I should be, what I should do, how I should act around food and my body. So thanks for tuning into my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my journey over the last year, gaining 50 pounds, discovering my intuitive eater, and really learning to embrace my larger body. If at any point in this video something resonates with you, definitely hit that thumbs up button down below. Hi, so that I can see that you're there. And also subscribe if you haven't already to catch me the rest of my journey. So as you can see, oh my gosh, well that's not the right one. I've got things to talk about and I have a little bit of an ADHD brain that goes everywhere. So I've got it written down here. If you see me looking down, that's what is happening. I'm going to give you guys the lowdown on how I went from insanely embedded in diet culture to now where I'm like blah, 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 against diet culture. Okay, that wasn't real words, but you get what I mean. Bah, down with diet culture. Hate it. Don't like it at all. Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Stay tuned. If you want to jump around, I'm going to try and put like timestamps down below so that you can like click on where you want to be in the video. But hey, you can stay the whole time, hear the whole journey, and I can't wait to have you along with me. So let's start by rewinding to last year, April. Okay, so April 2021, I was, only 6 months postpartum from having my second child. I had lost all of my pregnancy weight. I had lost even more than that. I was at my lowest ever adult weight, ever. I was feeling fancy and free, but not really free because diet culture had me down. But I was at my lowest weight, and that had come from about 2 years of being on an extremely restrictive diet through Bright Line Eating, which is based on food addiction. It's a food addiction model that they are going off of. So I was restricted for those 2 years. I didn't have sugar, I didn't have flour, there was no snacking, and you weighed and measured your food. Now, as you can imagine, having no sugar and no flour, weighing and measuring your food, and no snacking, it is quite low calorie. So when you stick to it 100%, it's quite effective. You will lose weight if you stick to it 100%. And so my goal, last April, we're back there, we're 145 pounds or something like that, my lowest ever adult weight. And I had been strictly following it for however many days. I was trying to get a really long streak because every time that I messed up and went off track, ate, a cookie at a party, I'd have a binge the next day. Or I made muffins for my kids. Well, my son at that point, because my daughter was too little. But I would make a batch of muffins, I would have a muffin, and then it would turn into I ate the entire pan of muffins. I had to make more muffins because stepping off plan even one tiny bit, I was instantly catapulted into a binge and overeating majorly. So last April, I had one of the worst binges that I had up until that point, and it came after this long streak where I had lost a bunch of weight consistently over, I don't know how long the streak was, because I haven't been in that mindset in a long time. I have no idea how long the streak was. I think it was over 50 days or right around 50 days. So almost 2 months of staying very strictly to this, never having a bite or a swallow of sugar or sweetener of any kind or flour. And I had a major binge where I was, sitting on the toilet eating a bag of cookies, okay, hiding. It was not good, all right? I had a lot of shame surrounding messing up. I keep doing quotation marks because, in my mind, these were huge mess ups and mistakes and different things, but I can now see that it was my body's natural reaction to being restricted in that way. But I'm not going to get sidetracked. Okay, let's focus here. Let's see. I was at my lowest weight ever, but I realized that I was in an unhealthy place with food and with my mind, thanks to these binges helping me realize that I was not actually in a good, healthy place, even though my weight was at the lowest that it had ever been. So in April, even though I was making really good strides towards my goal, right? I could have just jumped right back on that same diet that was super restrictive and I would have reached my goal eventually, probably with a bunch of binges along the way, but like I would have ultimately reached my goal, right? But no, I decided that was not how I wanted to do it. I wasn't going to live my life in a binge restrict cycle. And so I decided I needed to quit. Boom! So I did, which was actually really difficult because I had built my identity at that point surrounding this idea that I was addicted to food, to sugar and flour specifically. And I had to kind of deconstruct that. It all happened very quickly, but I made it happen and I'm really proud of that step that I took because it really was just a step. So at that point, last April, I was at my lowest weight ever and I stepped away from this restrictive diet. I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to eat healthy. I'm not going to restrict so much. I'm going to, tweak it in these different ways. So over the next 8 or 9 months-ish, from April to like December, January, I hopped from diet to diet, from lifestyle to lifestyle, and all those things that are actually diets, but they're kind of like wrapped up to be a little bit different. I jumped from all of those, did intermittent fasting, OMAD, meal replacement shakes, calorie counting, macros, just eating clean, just eating healthy, and here are the results of that year. I gained, it wasn't even a year, okay, it was 8 or 9 months-ish, and I gained at least 50 pounds, probably closer to 60 pounds. The reason I don't know is because I stopped weighing once I made the decision that diet culture was crap. And so I don't actually know what my weight is. But over that 9 months, I was weighing myself during that point. And I would lose 10 pounds, gain 15 pounds. I would lose 2 pounds, gain 10 pounds. I would lose 5 pounds, gain 10 pounds. Like, it was a constant fluctuation here with the general trajectory going upwards. And I was trying very hard to figure out some way that I could diet without my body realizing I was dieting and ending up in a binge cycle. So that was my goal. That's what I was trying to do, was find like a feasible way that I could lose the weight without it ending in a binge cycle, because binge is connected to restrict, right? And so I was trying to find something that wasn't restrictive, but that would still help me lose weight. But basically everything that was restrictive is why I lost weight. It's because it was restrictive. And so it would end up with overeating. And I wasn't like binging because I was more aware of it at that point. I would catch it earlier, right? I would realize I'm feeling the urge to binge. Okay, so I shouldn't do that restrictive thing that I was doing. So fast forward to January, where I decided that this wasn't working. And I read the book Atomic Habits because I was like, maybe I just need to have better habits in place. I'm obviously struggling with something. And so I read this book about atomic habits, which I really did enjoy. And it talks a lot about goals, obviously, but bigger than the goals, it talks more about the systems that you have in place to achieve whatever your goal is. So in my mind, I was thinking a lot at this point about my ultimate goals, and because I needed to, get my goal in mind in order to come up with my systems that I wanted to have in place. And as I was thinking so much about goals, I started to kind of list out my goals, be at a certain weight, lose a certain amount, be a certain size or whatever. So I wanted to be 130 pounds, but why? Because other people admire you when you're thinner, because you can, exercise better, you can do more things, it's more attractive, it's more acceptable in society, people don't judge you, it's easier to find clothes. And honestly, one of the big reasons that I wanted to lose weight down to like a skinny weight is I had never felt that way. And I had like this idea in my head that I wanted to feel what it was like to be skinny, like to be the skinny person in the room, because I've never been that since I've been super little. And I just wanted to know what that feeling was like. I was glorifying that feeling of being the skinniest in the room. That was one of my ultimate goals. Now, thinking too deeply about these kind of things can get you in real trouble. Like, it might turn you against diet culture altogether, which is what kind of what happened for me. You might start to think, why are these my goals? And the answer ultimately for me was that cultural pressure was putting that on myself. And like the way that I had been so ingrained with diet culture my whole life just kind of went into the fact that I was feeling this way as if they were my ideas, even though it was actually externally pressured and kind of people's expectations. So I started to think a little bit more deeply. Like, do I really believe that skinnier people are better than fat people? Do I really think that I will be automatically more comfortable in social situations if I am skinnier? Do I really want to be smaller to satisfy society? And do I really want to be strapped down into a strict diet or like lifestyle regimen where I have to watch what I eat every second of every day for the rest of my life in order to stay a certain size? Now, right around this time, my grandma actually passed away, and I was really close with my grandma growing up. She lived next door to us, and I would just run over there all the time. I could always count on my grandma to, give me a lesson in bread making or just to be a listening ear, or, she was making quilts for people all the time, so I'd help her tie the little ties on quilts. And I could always count on being able to go over there and just like hover around her for however long. And emotional every time I talk about her, because I really did just live the like idyllic childhood of being able to go visit my grandma whenever I could. And I know a lot of people can't do that and don't have that relationship. And so I feel really fortunate for that. She passed away after having dementia for a while. So like a lot of most of my memories with her are from my childhood. So for the funeral, I volunteered to make a book with pictures from her whole life that could be displayed at the funeral that people could write their memories in. So it was just pictures with spaces left for people to write things. So I got pictures from all my cousins and relatives of my grandma throughout her life, and I made them into this picture book. As I was sorting through like thousands of pictures that I got from people spanning her whole life, I of course, in like the way that we do, I noticed that at different stages or like different times, her weight had fluctuated up and down different times in her life. And even in like my childhood span of time where I was around her, she had different weight different times. And looking at those pictures, I was like, that's not part of my memory at all. And it's not her weight or her size or her looks that were the thing that I was remembering about her. And that's because it was her heart that she shared with me, not like these other things, And so that kind of helped me flip a switch in myself to realize that like my life, I refuse to let it be spent focusing on my weight and what I need to eat to be a certain way that I'm expected to be. Like, I want to have that space in my mind and in my heart taken off of weight and all of that, and like focus on the other things that are more important. And I realized in those moments of reflection that like living my life to be a certain size or whatever, like people might say like, it's not your whole life, you obviously have other things going on, but it like took up my whole life. Like all of my brain power seemed like was invested in that, to where I couldn't do much else than focus on that. It was just like a hyper focus, and if I wasn't hyper focused, then I gained 10 pounds. It was just like a bounce back constantly if I wasn't focusing on it. And so I was having to focus on it so much. But I realized when I was reflecting about my grandma that like that is not living, to be focusing on that so much of the time that you can't do anything else. I wanted to truly live, and I wanted to have a life that was remembered, not because I was like this perfect little size, able to do, all the things society wanted me to do, but because I was living a life that was true to me and how I wanted to live and to share with others. So I decided, after those moments of reflection and right around this time, I decided that I was going to quit dieting and I was going to do what I thought was impossible. All of my years of dieting, I didn't think for even a second that it was possible for me to not diet, eat in moderation, and maintain a weight without focusing on it. I decided to take the steps necessary to love and accept my body, period. Like, no stipulations. I was going to love and accept my body. I decided to kick my fat phobia to the curb. And people think you're being dramatic when you call it fat phobia, but people are so scared of being fat. So scared. So much that we focus on it all the time, of how to not be fat. And so I'm not being dramatic when I say fat phobic. People are terrified of being fat phobic. We have a huge diet and health industry trying to keep people from being fat. So that's why I say fat phobic. And I decided to kick that to the curb. I need to get rid of fat phobia within myself and stop being afraid of being fat. I decided that I needed to heal my relationship with food no matter what size I was. That instead of thinking to myself, well, I'll lose the weight, and then once I'm at a healthier weight, I'll heal my relationship with food and I won't need to diet anymore. I decided, no, that's not going to cut it. I am going to focus on healing my relationship with food, and it doesn't matter what size I am, what weight I'm at. Because what it came down to is living in a binge restrict cycle was not actually living, and I wasn't going to do that forever. And when I figure out that I'm not going to do something forever, I just stop. I am very impulsive, you might say, because I do the same thing with things that I'm starting up. I call myself a quick start because I quickly start things. If I look at all the pros and cons, I decide the pros are better than the cons. I want to take this job or whatever. I want to apply. I want to quit something that wasn't working for me. I'm going to do it as soon as I can, because why wait, right? So I'm a little impulsive that way, but it has served me well. I learned things all along the way. What I discovered throughout this whole reflection and process of deciding all these things, I found that in order to live, I need to flip my goals on the head. So going back to Atomic Habits, I needed to flip those goals on the head and truly work on my goal being health. Because my goal up until that point had been considering health only as it applied to weight. I decided, like the rest of society, that weight was the determinant of health. And so I decided now, because I'm not focusing on dieting or demonizing food in any way, I didn't want to take up my whole life, that I needed to flip my goals and realize okay, health, yes, health is important to happiness. I want to be healthy as I can, so that it enriches my life. And that includes mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health. All of these things are things that I wanted to focus on for my goals, rather than focusing on weight as health, because it's not. Now, fat phobics believe that health at every size is impossible, and I will say I have been there, and I really thought it was. But what if our lives were spent on more than focusing on a number on the scale or the size of our thighs? What if we freed up that headspace to love more fully, to create more freely? And what if we moved for, instead of calories burned, what if we moved for endorphins earned to feel good? What if we could feel good, work hard, become stronger, truly relax, embrace ourselves and our inherent unique beauty as human beings? What if we just, instead of focusing so much on these things that we like attribute health to, just like weight. Everyone thinks that weight is like health, okay? Let's just open our minds a little bit, okay? What if we just embraced who we are as unique humans and leaned into that uniqueness that we all have? And what if we did that all while we're fat? Like, what if we are fat when we achieve all these things? And that's where I am. Those are my goals. My goals are to become stronger, to feel good, to be able to love more fully, to be able to embrace who I am and who other people are for their unique selves. I now move to feel good. It feels great. And if it doesn't feel great, then I reevaluate, because maybe that's not the movement that I want to be doing. I now focus more on being true to my own values rather than what externally other people may want me to be, or how they want me to act or look. And I have to really think about how I actually feel about those things, not how other people want me to feel about those things. And part of that is trying to not focus on the judgment of others, trying really hard to not focus on the fact that other people are judging me, because I'm not just imagining it, they actually say it to my face sometimes. And so I'm really focusing on trying not to care that other people are judging me for how I'm acting or what I'm saying or how I'm choosing to live my life. And honestly, I'm sharing on here because I want other people to feel empowered to take the scary jump from being part of diet culture, where you feel like if I achieve this, this will change, like this certain thing in my life will change or whatever. If only I were thinner, I would be happier and I'd be able to do more things and whatever. And the reality of the situation is, lots of the times it is our perception of the judgment of others that is keeping us from doing those things, not our weight. I know I said this in a different video, but like one of my goals, or like one of the reasons I wanted to lose weight, was because I wanted to be able to run around with my kids and keep up with them and all these different things. And I realized that the reason I wasn't running around with my kids at the park or whatever is I was afraid of the judgment of others, seeing this fat mom run after her kids and how I might look to other people. And the natural tendency is to kind of go into your own little bubble and try to not be noticed by other people. But as soon as you let go of that judgment of other people looking at you funny, or maybe they're not even, but you're imagining that they are, as soon as you let go of that, guess what? I can run after my kids, and it doesn't matter if I'm wiggling and jiggling around or whatever. And so it's just letting go of that expectation and kind of not allowing those judgments from others to cloud my perception and knowledge about myself. Because I know myself best, and they can think what they think. Now, sometimes it's harder to disconnect for some people than others. If someone's really close to you and you're feeling that judgment from them, that's a lot harder. And I have dealt with that as well, and I just try really hard each day to focus on what I know about myself and try to kind of lean on that. Now, I used to scoff at the HAES movement, health at every size. I really didn't think that it was possible. I kind of thought they were a little bit up in the night, a little cray-cray. But I think back to Atomic Habits and how it's all about the systems that you have in place. And well, yes, maybe someone that is like, I don't know, 600 pounds or whatever, yeah, it'd be hard to argue that they in that state are healthy. But if you looked at the systems that they have in place in their life, maybe every single day they are becoming healthier and healthier in each of these areas. And that's really what we're going for, is like constant improvement and striving for actual health, not for weight, because weight does not equal health. And if we put those systems in place that are taking us to a healthier place, whether that's emotional health or mental health or spiritual health or physical health, all of these things, like, it's not just one thing. It's not just your size. Your size is what people can see. Your weight is what people can see. And because they see that at like a higher place, then they might perceive you as being lazy or not working hard enough or not caring enough or different things. But the only thing you have to keep in mind is how you feel, how you know that you're doing in your systems and your everything that you've got in place. And that doesn't mean that your systems need to be these strict rules of different things that you're doing. An example of my current system is I'm trying to begin incorporating nutrition more into my food now that I've made peace with all food being available to me. Nothing is good, nothing is bad, everything is food, it's delicious. And I've made peace with that aspect. So now I'm trying to incorporate nutrition a little bit more without it turning accidentally back into a diet. So I'm just trying to keep a nutritional mindset throughout the day. And so one of my goals for each meal is to include protein and to include produce. Those are my two things. And I also try to pause during each meal to kind of assess halfway through how I'm feeling. Am I full? Am I still hungry? Do I need to add something else? Do I not need to finish my plate? And so that's the system that I have in place, is trying to do those things during each meal. I also am trying each day to work on self-care, and not just self-care as in like take a bath each night, but self-care as in trying to think of one thing I'm grateful for before I go to bed, or starting my day off with a positive affirmation, or, getting outside at least once a day, or changing my clothes, like these little things that really don't seem like a lot, but there have been days in the past where I'm feeling too overwhelmed or too down or whatever that I haven't changed my clothes or I haven't stepped outside. And so these are little steps that I'm making towards my mental health and emotional health, to be able to accomplish these little things throughout the day. So that's another system that I have in place. So those are some examples of what I'm currently doing. But anyway, I'm getting off track because that's what I do. But thanks so much for watching this video. Health does not equal weight. I am just fat. I'm not lazy. I'm working hard. And, all the steps that I took over the last year to get to this place, they all had a purpose, and they all took me here a little by little. I needed to binge after my restriction to realize that restriction was not what was going to work for me. I needed to have that 9 months of like diet failures in order to realize this is not what I want to do my entire life, be on this constant cycle of restriction and overeating, and just feeling like I'm never getting it, even though I'm trying hard. And then since I made the transition to anti-diet and to be more in tune with my intuitive eater, I have seen such a change in my mental capacity to do other things in my life and to be more empowered to follow my own intuition about things, even more than just food. So thank you for watching. And I'm really grateful for this past year, and I'm grateful for where I'm at. I feel in a very good headspace about where I'm at with everything. And I've got some haters that post comments sometimes being like, well, you thought you were right then. How do you know you're right now? And all the different things. And you know what? All I can do is share my experience. You don't have to believe me. You can discover for yourself and do your own journey. But I'm just sharing mine. And I hope that I can empower at least somebody to make the scary leap from dieting and being on that yo-yo to dropping it and jumping into becoming more in touch with yourself and how you really want to live your life, not what other people expect from you. I just spilled water on the carpet. That is my cue to leave. I'm going to clean that up. If you're still here, drop a comment because y'all are the real true friends here. So yeah, drop a comment if you're still here. I would love to know if anyone actually made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to hit thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.